As a confidence coach in Calgary who works with businesses and individuals, I have seen that confidence looks different for everyone. In this podcast, we explore confidence through the eyes of our diverse community, redefining it one conversation at a time. Welcome to Confidence Redefined. I'm your host, Alyssa McMasters. Our guest today is Shenneile Henry. Shenneile is the Enterprise Growth Manager at Fable, one of Canada's top tech companies. The owner of Gold Digger Shen, a coaching and consulting company which helps individuals and businesses with their confidence and business literacy. An Amazon International best-selling author and the owner of a robust real estate portfolio she started by herself while she was still in university. She's been featured in Yahoo Finance, CTV News, and the Globe and Mail, and is the recipient of the Under 30 Achievement Award from the Calgary Black Chambers. Today, Shenneile joins us to talk about overcoming introversion, mastering financial literacy, and shifting mindsets to build resilience and confidence. Welcome, Shenneile. Welcome, Shenneile Henry. How are you doing today?
Fabulous now that I'm sitting here with you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to talk with you today because in my perspective, you are one of the most confident people that I know. Yeah. And I know that comes from a lot of training and a lot of work, right? Does. And I know a lot of people who think like, oh, you're so confident, you're so lucky. But when I say lucky and confidence, do those two words match for you?
Confident for sure. Lucky, not so much. I think, me having the ability to be where I am and be confident and for people to see that in myself took a lot of work, took a lot of intention, took a lot of having to sit back and reflect on times in my life where I wasn't confident and thinking about, what is it that's holding me back from really stepping into my power and being the Shenneile that I envisioned for myself. And so luck doesn't really resonate with me so much. The confident piece for sure. I definitely think I am lucky in the sense that I have had the opportunity to surround myself with people who cheer me on, people who encourage me, people who motivate me. And it's things like that, my surroundings that I'm lucky to have, but also I'm very intentional and thoughtful around those things. Yeah,
and I thought you were going to say that because I feel the same way. Luck had nothing to do with it, right? You've worked so hard, and I know your story, and I'm excited to share a little bit about your story today. I know how hard you work, and I know how focused you are at helping women reach into their confidence and also reach into their business and financial confidence, right? And business owners. So you started Gold Digger Shen.
Gold Digger Shen.
Yeah, you're
Goal.
Gold Digger.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And what I love so much about it is it's combining the thoughts of business, confidence, and financial stability and financial confidence all into like one really beautiful, robust offering that you offer. Now, what was the precipice that you were like, okay, I need to start this?
It's a great question. It's not one specific instance or moment in my life, but a combination of things. So for myself, this path to being who I am today, being Gold Digger Shen, it's a compound of a lot of different things that have happened in my life from a financial perspective where I didn't have the confidence to ask, didn't have the confidence to even believe that I deserved the things that I've managed to achieve and accomplish. And so thinking back several years ago, before I got into my own real estate business, I was very young. I was 19. And, I was looking at the Calgary real estate market. At the time, I was living in Montreal, paying rent as a student. And I started studying the Calgary real estate market. And back then, you could get a condo for just under $200,000. I ran the math, and I was like, you know what? It would actually cost me more or less the same as I'm paying for rent here to purchase my own property. And when the idea came to me and I brought it forth to my banker, to colleagues, some of the first initial feedback I received was, well, you've got to wait like 10 years. You're not even working full time. And I didn't know that it was possible until I did more digging. I started asking more questions. I know I really wanted it because I saw an opportunity, and I really, really had to position myself in front of the right people. So I walked into several banks. I was told no. They had the same feedback, same suggestions for me. And maybe it was luck, but I was fortunate to have met a banker who the conversation didn't end at no. It was like, no, here's why. Here's what you need to do differently. And turns out, actually, I was in a position to qualify for the mortgage. I just didn't understand the financial, sort of how the financial system worked. And it was a matter of how I was positioning myself. I thought, well, I'm a student. I know I'm asking for a lot, or maybe asking for too much, or this isn't standard. And really, when we started to unpack what I was doing as a student, I was working 2 jobs. I had savings. I had all of the pieces to the puzzle that you need to get the mortgage. So sometimes we think we may be in a position, or we're looking at the people around us and we're like, okay, we have to wait 5 years, or we have to wait 10 years, or I have to have a business or these accolades to be able to achieve something, when in reality, it's not the truth. So that was sort of one big thing for me, one moment in my life that got me into starting to acquire assets. And now I have multiple properties. I'm 29 years old, and I know that it is possible for anybody to have the things that I have. I think that's the beauty of being a gold digger, is as long as you set your mind to it, as long as it's something that you want, you can put a plan in place. And if you know how to put that plan in place and then present it to the right people, and not be afraid to ask and even push back if they're telling you no, it's yours. It's yours to get.
Yeah. And what I love so much about you say that is you said, I started digging.
Yes.
Right. And then we have gold digger Shen, right? And the digging of it. And so many times, and I hear this from a lot of my clients, a lot of people that I work with, well, I guess I just don't have what I need, what it takes. I don't have the money, I guess. Yeah. Because our society continues to tell us, right? It conditions us that you're too young to own property, yeah. right? Conditions us like, who are you to walk into a bank and ask for a loan of that size? Yes. You have to wait till you have a certain thing. Because from my perspective, a lot of people see, well, that's what they needed to do.
Exactly.
Right? 100%. I needed to do that, so you do too.
Yes.
But what does it look like if we break that mold? And what does it look like if we say, you know what? I feel like I can do that regardless of what society says, and work through that. Now, I love the also synchronicities of how you then went into banking.
I know.
Right? So tell me more about how that transition happened for you and why you went into banking.
Okay, so the short, honest answer is I applied for business school twice to get into finance, and I didn't get in. Just couldn't. In my second year of university, I failed. So I straight Fs 2 semesters in a row, and I got kicked out. And that was a moment in my life where I really had to learn about accountability. There's all these reasons I can point to as to why I wasn't getting the grades. I was working a lot, just learning yourself, right? When you're in university, for me anyways, I felt like I didn't understand the world. I didn't think I had an opportunity or a path. I didn't know exactly where I was going to go. And I'd see a lot of people around me. And again, it's going back to this comparing ourselves to others. I certainly was guilty of that when I was younger. I'm looking at the people around me, successful and having all these things, and they have a job and they're able to get their degrees. And I literally am not even sure if I'm in the right major. And so I think that was for sure a distraction. But I failed. I got kicked out. And the lesson I learned was that, look, if you want something, you have to get it done. Period. Not make excuses. So I just said all of those things that were impacting why I wasn't focused on my studies. But the reality is I wasn't focused on my studies, right? I had to do this self-reflection and assessment. Like, okay, did you really study as much as you should have? Did you show up to all of the classes? Did you take advantage of the office hours with the professors? And the answer was no. And so I pushed myself and said, you know what? This is not the end of the world. I'm going to go after it again. Now I've learned from my mistakes. And so I applied to that. So that happened. And I applied to business school and I got declined twice. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I ended up in a Bachelor of Arts in Economics. And, I'll say this. It's a journey. So even though I got into economics, I still had those negative thoughts in my head, like, man, I didn't get into business school. So I was still on that journey of trying to figure it out. And I had applied for a ton of roles in banking. I love people and I love helping people. So I knew I wanted to do a profession that would allow me to do that. I explored consulting as well, and I didn't get anything. I went maybe two summer, most people do summer internships and I couldn't get in. So I had to apply myself to other areas. I ended up working, funny enough, in agriculture. I worked for the Quebec government. But what was really nice about that was I was allowed to be out on the field, quite literally, with farmers and helping them identify just how to operate the business side of their farming business. So then I, by chance, applied to this one role in banking. I didn't have the qualifications. I was like, let me just submit the application. Long and short is I did land an interview. And in that interview, I was forthcoming. I said, I don't have banking experience, but I love to learn. I love to help people. I love numbers. I love solving complex problems. And that's how I was able to sell myself. And I guess they saw the light in me and they gave me the opportunity. And in everything, all the steps I've taken in my career, I've been fortunate to have had many roles and have had to grow quite quickly. And it's because I saw an opportunity and raised my hand and said, hey, I'm interested.
Saw an opportunity and raised my hand, and there was a bunch of nuggets in there that I want to get into, because what I love so much about it is that there is no one way of doing it. And I think that we are always convinced that we have to do it in a certain way, and you are a testament to follow your own path, and things will unfold in front of you. Make the good decisions and be okay making those mistakes, but learn from them.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to when you were in university and you got denied twice.
Yes.
And you say, I learned a lot. But when you were in that moment, how did you get out of that negative cycle of things? Was there any things that you did that you really were like, this is what really helped?
I started writing, so journaling. So I'm actually quite the introvert. And I love to spend a lot of time in my own sort of space and bubble. And for me, that's one way that just helps me to unpack and not make impulsive decisions, because I try to take the time to process. And so journaling really helped. I started working out as well. Taking care of my physical body gave me energy on those days where I was just feeling so defeated or feeling lost. Those two things still help me today.
Yeah. And if you could go back to that woman, what would you say to her?
I'd simply say, it's okay. It's a part of life. Sometimes you're not gonna always be at 100%. And I always ask myself when I'm in a icky situation, what is the lesson here? There has to be a reason this is happening to me. My mom always talks about this. She says, everything happens for a reason. Tomorrow will be a brighter day. So if it's icky today, I know that good day is coming, and I always keep that in mind. So yeah, when I'm feeling down, it's okay to sit in that moment, and you will learn a lot about yourself when you accept that, okay, this is not where I want to be, but that's the beauty of that moment is you've now identified you're not where you want to be. So the power within yourself is you can address how you're going to manage that, what the next steps will be, what you're going to do to get out of that. As long as you know you don't want to be there, you have the choice now to figure out, how do I get out of it?
What I love so dearly about that is that you are in power of changing, right? You have the opportunity to change things. And what makes me think about that is a lot of people are really afraid to apply for jobs that they don't feel like they are fully prepared for, right? I work with a lot of women in business, and a lot of them will only apply for jobs when they reach 80 to 100% of the criteria, whereas we know that men will apply for 20%. So do you think that realization that your mom instilled in you, that you also have put into practice of being today is a hard day, tomorrow will be brighter, do you think that's an ability to be able to apply for those jobs? When you applied for that banking job that you're I don't have any of the criteria here, do you think that helped you be able to do that?
Oh, 100%. The other thing is I always ask myself, what's there to lose? What's the worst thing that will happen? I apply, I don't get it. I can apply, maybe I land an interview and I still don't get it, but now I've made a connection. Now I've had an opportunity to hear from the hiring manager, to learn more from the source about the company, some of the projects that they're working on. And that's actually one of the ways I did get one of my jobs is I applied, went through rounds of interviews, didn't get it, but I had a connection. I had that connection. So I was able to learn from that experience to say, okay, what was it that didn't make me the right candidate now? And then I was able to go and work on those specific things and approach them again in the future. And I was able to do exactly that. So every opportunity is an opportunity, even if the outcome isn't what you want it to be or think it's going to be, even if the outcome is no, if you're not actually landing that job, the only way to know is to do it. So.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing you say, and correct me where I'm wrong here, but is that it's so much more about the journey than the actual destination. And if we focus 100%. On the journey and focus on the lessons we're learning, focus on meeting those connections rather than the actual outcome, yes. I feel like that's where a lot of confidence came from for you, hey?
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely. I think also a part of that is you've got to put yourself first. Prioritizing yourself isn't selfish. So I remember someone once telling me that Shen, you don't have to get into leadership. You don't need to do that. You're young. You still have lots of time. You have lots of years to go. And absolutely, I do. They pointed to a lot of the accomplishments I already have. Oh, you've traveled the world. You have such a large network. You've done all these things. You don't need to. Yeah, okay, that's your opinion. That's what you see for me, but that's not what I see for myself. And that is also a big shift that has happened in me, and where I see my biggest growth is putting my own desires first, and that being a non-negotiable, period.
Yeah, I was watching a panel the other day at an event, and one of the women said being bold is about making your own decisions regardless of what other people say. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I thought I see you as a super bold person.
Thank you.
And that excites me, knowing that you can get to where you are. And people ask me too, how do you get confident? And it's about training, and it's about learning, and it's about failing and being okay failing. Yes. Now, when we talk about rejection, right? Mm-hmm. And you've had a lot of rejection, even from our little conversation here so far, being rejected from business school, being rejected from these things. I know when we talk about rejection, the reason why it feels so scary is because it actually affects our brain.
It does.
Right?
Yes.
And when we were back in our communities thousands and thousands of years ago, if we, were rejected, we were often kicked out of the community, right? So when we feel rejection now, that's often why we feel so afraid, because our brains elicit pain. But it feels like you've kind of conquered the idea of rejection. Do you think that has to do with your ability to see the time for what it is, or is there something else in there that you'd like, a little nugget that you can help us include?
It's a really good question. I want to say for me, it was learning to accept things firstly at face value. If I can't control it, if it's something that I truly had no influence over, I'm just accepting that for what it is, right? Like when I didn't get that job, maybe it just wasn't meant for me. So instead of sitting in that and dwelling on that, I just accept it. And I try not to sit in that space for too long and just keep going. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Now I want to talk about introversion, because I know a lot of people confuse extroversion and confidence to be the same thing. Yes. But it's not. Tell us more about how you were introverted and maybe how you grew into the woman that you are while still being okay being an introverted person.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe it has to do with being an only child. So I spent a lot of my time growing up by myself, right? Like I had to get creative. I didn't always have cousins or a brother or a sister to play with. So it's, okay, Shen, what do you want to do today? And I still, I have just gotten to learn and know myself, and I love myself. So I love spending time. Like I travel by myself. I'll go out to restaurants. I'll go to concerts because I enjoy my own presence, and that's okay. And, one of the things that has helped me as an introvert to become more confident and bold is I started really writing down two things. Where do I see myself? What do I want for myself? What do I want for my life? And this is not simply where I want to be in business and in my career. I do also write those things down, but it's who is the woman that I want to be? What is the legacy I want to leave? If I were to have a daughter, what sort of a role model, what sort of lessons would I want to be teaching her? And I write those things down. And sometimes I'm just free flowing. It's not looking, it's not pretty. There's no real structure to it. It's just whatever is coming to my mind. And then I also started writing about my accomplishments. You know, life is so interesting. It goes by so quickly in some ways. It goes by slowly in some other ways, right? And I started writing down all of the things I would do. Okay, I was able to help this business owner connect with this international other business owner, and now they've formed a partnership, and I've seen where that partnership has allowed them to grow into 7-figure businesses, where they've now acquired other businesses. Like, I'm writing these things down. I had someone reach out to me to say, you know, can I set up some time for you to review my resume or my business plan? And I took the time to do that. And then they applied some of the advice I gave them, and they were able to open up their first, you know, maybe it's a storefront or their first office. And now they're on to having multiple offices. Maybe they've even grown into a franchise. And I started writing my wins, the small wins. They compound over time. So at the end of the year, when I look at that, I'm like, what? I did that. So now that makes me confident because I've seen it. I've done it. Someone cannot come to me to say, well, you know, are you sure you really? I know I did. Thank you very much. Yeah. And I'm not apologizing for that. And I wasn't always like that. But that's what's worked for me, is writing and seeing and not watering it down, truthfully. Yeah.
Writing, seeing, and not watering it down, and being so wildly unapologetic with your wins, because we underestimate what we can do in a year and overestimate what we can do in a day, right? So we think, okay, what am I doing this week? Well, I haven't done much. But like you said, when you actually write down all those kudoses, those wins, and you look at that year, and I can guarantee that everybody who does that, no matter what role you are, if you're able to look at that, because the negative thought patterns are just so much easier to focus on. So we do have to work really hard at focusing on the positive thought patterns. Is there anything else that you do to like really focus on those like positive thought patterns, rather than focusing all the things that you haven't accomplished, and rather focus on the things that you have?
I am very intentional about my surroundings, the people I allow into my life. And sometimes I want to say I've mastered knowing myself, being self-aware. That's one of my strengths. It doesn't mean that I'm 100% all the time. And yeah, sometimes I'm going to friends or family or a mentor, and I'm asking them what their thoughts are. But the people that I take advice from are people who I know want the best for me. And they show that to me through their own sort of being consistent and celebrating my wins along with me, right? So I check myself, and then I have people who check me. And I'm so, so, so grateful. You're one of those people I'm just so blessed to have in my life that, you know, you'll check me. If you see that, hey, Shen, you could have done this, or have you thought of that? You're not saying it to break me down. And that's the thing. I, for a very long time, had been surrounded by people who wanted to break me. And I thought, man, maybe they're right. Like, maybe I shouldn't do this. But then, to your point, when you take a step back and you start to unpack what it is they're telling you, it's like, no, this isn't even about me. You're trying to break me because maybe you're broken. Maybe you're broken, right? And I don't allow that in my life anymore. There's no space for it.
Yeah. Now, when we talk about the people that we have in our lives who like to shoot us down, right? Who try to make us small because it's more comfortable for them if we're small, right? Because loud, positive women can be really scary to people, because that's who changes the world.
People get fearful. I was listening to Oprah. God bless Oprah. I was listening to Oprah. She was in an interview, and she said, you know, people when they see something in you that they don't recognize, they become scared. They become fearful. And most of the times it's because they don't see what it is you're putting out there in themselves. And because they're not used to that space or that, the light that you're shining, they do try to dim it because it's all they've known. They don't know how to deal with it. She said, look, there's no space for people like that. There really isn't. You're doing yourself a disservice to allow negativity to be around you. If you take in negative energy, you're likely to put out negative energy, and that's not going to get you anywhere. I know I don't like that feeling of I've been mad, I've been sad. It's not my favorite feeling. I much rather be glowing, shining, happy. So I'm constantly working towards being in that space, remaining in that space as best as I can. And so are the people around me.
Yeah. Now, I hear from a lot of my clients, people that I work with, I don't have the group, right? I wish I had that group of people to support me. And the people that are around me are just trying to bring me down. And I've been there, and it sounds like you've been there, where the people around you just don't seem to fit anymore. And maybe at one time they did. Maybe they felt really good. Maybe at one time that version of you. But as we grow into new people, sometimes those people also, we outgrow them. Do you have any advice on setting those boundaries and finding the difference between the people who light you up and the people who are trying to tear you down?
Deep down, we all know what we want.
Say that again.
Deep down, we all know what we want. We may not have it figured out exactly how we're going to get there or exactly what you need to do, but deep down, if you sit with yourself, you know what you want. You know if this person makes you happy or not. You know if this job makes you happy or not. You know if that business, like so many people I speak to that I consult with right now, they're starting a business, and it's a business they've been thinking about for 10 years. It's a business they dreamed of from when they were kids, that I know there's something in them. And I want, just follow that inner intuition. The same thing goes with the people around you. The friends I had that are no longer in my life, when I took the time to sit and look and assess my circle and gauge, okay, why am I always riled up or feeling bad about myself when this person is around? Well, it's because they've been saying this repeatedly to me. It's because they've done that repeatedly to me, and I've allowed that to carry on. What is the saying? What we don't change, we accept. And I didn't change. I didn't change my circle for a long time. I accepted it. And so the power comes from taking the onus on you to make that change. But deep down, we know. That's my thoughts.
Deep down, we know. I had a very similar experience, and I remember going to a new friend of mine who is one of those people who just power me up and just make me feel invincible. And they asked, why do you hang out with that person? They don't make you feel good. And I said the words, well, their behavior is grandfathered in. Yeah. Because they've always treated me that way. Yes. They know me from the version that I used to be, and I mean, it's really hard for them to change because I've changed. And she was like, no, girl.
Or we make excuses. Oh, they've always been like that. I have a lot of childhood friends. Oh, well, it's not someone that's ever going to say congratulations. They're just like that. No, okay, maybe they are just like that, but guess what? That used to work, and it's not going to work anymore. Yeah. And it doesn't mean you don't have love for these people, because here's one thing with me. I hate nobody. There's no one on this earth that I hate, because to hate someone or something or some people requires energy. And like I mentioned, there's no time for negative energy in my life. So I refuse to spend time hating or holding grudges on anyone who has done me wrong or who's tried to break me. I wish them well from a distance, though. You no longer get the luxury to be around my energy. You have to be willing to get on that same positive vibes. That's all that I allow in, and I'm not apologizing for that.
you don't have the luxury.
Yeah.
Right. And I have those conversations with a lot of people saying, people personally, and also my clients, helping them understand that being with us, being with our power, being with you, whether it's in business or in personal or relationships, it is a luxury. And if people don't see it as a luxury, they aren't the right people. And we continuously, like a lot of people, and I see this often, is they set their boundaries depending on the people around them because they knew a different version of them, right? Yes. Rather than understanding that this new version of you deserves the same love and respect from everybody, regardless of how people used to know you, because we are allowed to change. Mm-hmm. And we get so stuck in thinking, well, this is like people are not going to know who I am. This is how it's always been. But what if how it's always been just isn't working anymore? Mm-hmm. And what precipice do we hit that we're like, we need to be this new version? It sounds like you kind of had that a couple times. Was there like a moment that you're like, okay, I'm in it, like I'm in that next version of me? Was there like a telltale sign for you?
Hard to think of a specific instance, but I've noticed my growth even in the last year where, like, if I didn't get a decision or an outcome that I expected, sometimes I laugh. I'm just like, okay, now I have the clarity. My physical reaction to things has changed. And I'm finding that I'm spending less time dwelling. I'm okay, the answer is no, on to the next. And it's because of how I respond physically. I'm seeing that. And so I know that that's a part of my growth and me evolving.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful place to be. And again, like we started from the beginning, it is work, right? We don't get here naturally. It doesn't just happen for people. Some people, of course, have more confidence naturally, right? Yes. Maybe they're raised differently. Mm-hmm. They don't have the same conditionings, the same culture, putting the same issues on them and the same expectations on them. But when we get to a point where we can fully understand that this isn't for me, the next thing is going to be better, and being okay with knowing that our decisions are the best decision, that is such a beautiful place to be. Now, what I also find so fantastic and interesting about you is you have this beautiful balancing act between having a corporate job, a very great corporate job, having your own business, and then also having your properties. What does that balance look like for you? And is there such thing as balance in the first place?
It depends on the day. It really depends on the day. It also depends on even the time of year, right? I've learned to compartmentalize. So there might be a period where I'm super focused on, okay, let me look at my real estate portfolio and what's my next step. And I'm working on my business plan. And I say business plan with like that because it's, when I say business plan, it's not writing on a document and making it look pretty. It's just putting pen to paper so I can get my thoughts out there. And again, going back to even, the ability at the end of the year to track and see where, either you've progressed or have made changes. I write out the things that I want to do, and then I'm just seeing where I end up at the end of the year. But yeah, I've learned to compartmentalize, and I've made certain rules for myself. When on the note of balance, there's certain days. So on a Friday is Shenneile Day. So that's when I'm not doing my job, my consulting, my real estate. I'm doing me. I'm getting my nails done. I'm going out to eat. I'm hanging out with friends. And I do that so I can be recharged to then focus on those things. So it depends on the day. And sometimes it is a matter of juggling all of those pieces. I love a calendar, so I'm blocking specific time blocks where I'm super focused, because I take a lot of pride in my work, right? And so I want to do a good job, and it's hard to do it all at once. And so being okay with knowing that you can't. You're one person. There's limited hours in a day. That's how I manage to keep that balance.
Yeah. I heard something, a wonderful woman named Roselle has said, burnout is setting ourselves on fire to keep other people warm.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think when a lot of people think busy, right? They think, okay, you have all this stuff going on. Sometimes we forget to do self-care. And this is a delicate balance that I feel like you have found of being able to be, I'm going to be this because I want to be, but I'm also focused on Shenneile. I'm focused on Shen. This is also the most important part, because if I'm not running well, none of my products are running well.
Yep.
Right? So what does that look like for you is there like other, like, I know, like get your hair done Friday day, Shen day, boom, boom. But is there something other specific, like kind of throughout the days that you focus on self-care to like put yourself first and ensure that you have the space to be all of the women that you are?
Yeah. I take walks. I love music. So I'll put in my headphones. I'll go for a walk. Even if it's 5 minutes, like getting that fresh air makes a difference. And then there's this thing, it's like a 5-minute rule method where anytime the thought comes to mind, you spend 5 minutes doing it. So that might just be 5 minutes sitting down and doing nothing. It might be 5 minutes going into the kitchen and grabbing your favorite snack, but like actually remembering to do those things. When you're busy and you're juggling so many businesses and a lot of people in my work, because by nature, I'm a consultant, I'm a relationship manager, right? I'm in the community working with people. So I have a lot of things coming to me and a lot of people relying on me for direction and my input. And so sometimes I forget to take that time out of my day because I need to respond to this person and such so and so. But setting that fine line, if someone sends me a text, hey, can you chat? But I just had that thought, that 5 minutes, I need to take 5 minutes to take my break. It's like, no, I'll talk to you in 5 minutes. And you know what? If I need more than 5 minutes, I'll say, can we make it 15? And I've learned you don't always have to act on something the moment it comes to you. I used to think that you have to, like, I don't want to let this person down, but people will respect you. You want the people in your life that understands those boundaries that you're setting, right? And you just have to firstly know that it's your day. You have control over that, right? To a certain extent, because yes, people are relying on you, but don't be afraid to set those rules for yourself. And when you set those rules for yourself, people respect you.
Yeah. And it sounds like there's a lot of like dedication to you, right? Mm-hmm. Because you are the most important person. I know you manage lots of different people and lots of different projects, yes, but you are the most important one, mm-hmm, right? And I also wanted to chat about a lot of people want to fit into boxes, yes, right? Maybe they don't want to fit into boxes, but they think that they should because I am X, right? Mm-hmm. I've always been X. But I always appreciate people who can be all these different things at once and realize that we can be holistic humans without having to fit into these boxes. Mm-hmm. Even when society feels uncomfortable, yes, about us not fitting into a box, because society, again, and people around us, we've been trained to focus on things and help understand what people are, what things are. So when we talk about like the holistic human that you are, mm-hmm, how do you overcome that thought process of like, maybe I should be in a box?
Well, the short answer is I've decided I don't want to be in a box because I've been in the box and I don't like it. But I still to this day get the question asked, okay, so you're doing all of these things. So which one is it going to be? Is it going to be real estate? Is it going to be consulting? Is it going to be, your full-time role in tech? And I love all of those things. And guess what? It's all of those things. That's what it's going to be. But I do have people who will really try to push me. Okay, but you've been in real estate for a very long time, or, but you love to consult. Yeah, I love all of those things and I can be all of these things. I've shown that it is possible. We don't have to choose one. Even, I sit on boards for women in business with women leaders. I sit on a board where the goal is to empower women to take board positions. Absolutely love that work. But people will ask me, so do you only see women clients? No, I'm not boxing myself into that one space. I love that space and I'll continue to have contributions in that space. But guess what? I'm not limiting myself to that because I see opportunity in many different areas, and it's okay. It's fine to not have to be in a box.
Yeah. And I just love how your whole career path and just kind of who you are and how I've watched you blossom as well. And just like, you're this fantastic person. It comes from all these different spaces of being okay that it doesn't fit the mold, yes, right? Being okay, I don't need to do that. And being okay with getting to the point where we recognize that we are allowed to be our authentic selves. So what is authentically Shen? Like, what does authenticity mean to you?
For me, it's when I wake up every day and I look in the mirror, am I looking back at a woman that makes me proud, a person that makes me proud? That's how I check myself. That is how I stay authentic and true to me. First of all, life is short. Tomorrow isn't promised. So when I wake up, I practice gratitude to stay grounded and to remember where I'm coming from and to remember how blessed I am with what I have. And for me, being authentic is being at peace with who you are and being happy about that and not wavering on that either.
Yeah. And I love how you've brought this into Gold Digger Shen. And I want to talk a little bit about your own company and what you're doing, because what you're doing is just so beautiful. The way that you walked into the bank and they said, nope, nope, nope. And then you found a way around it. Now you're guiding people into figuring out ways that they can also access the same support that you did in a way that they don't have to do it alone. Yeah. So now you're holding their hand through that process. So has there been any huge eye-opening things happen for you in the last couple months? Anything really exciting that has happened? Maybe with clients or with the business itself?
Yeah. So, you know what's interesting? What had me stand out as a banker, and I'd say even in my approach to how I consult today, is I'm not afraid to have tough conversations. So I'm a very positive, optimistic person, but I'm also very realistic. And that means in a lot of the conversations I have with my clients, and I smile because I tend to be in this role even with my peers and my friends and family. I play devil's advocate a lot. And I challenge people to really assess all that it is that they're working within. And I'm not afraid in the space of business to talk with a business owner about finances and whether or not they're making the right decisions. So sometimes, yes, you'd love to open a business. You want to go from only being online to having a physical location. Is it really the best thing for you to do right now based on what you have decided for yourself that you want to achieve financially? And I'm helping them sort of walk down that path. And it's not an easy thing to have. And so the example that I'm thinking of is I had a client, actually she's still a client of mine. It's a client from banking, my banking days. And she had a gym, beautiful gym, was able to grow her clientele, made, for the first time she passed her break-even point, and she had excess cash, which is super exciting and great. And so she came to me and she wanted to open up a second location. And the conversation was around the realities of what that would mean. Yes, it's great you have this excess cash. You've been working 7 years to get to this point. Is now the best time to open up a second location? Because opening up a second location doesn't guarantee that that second location performs as the first. And oftentimes what happens, and I've seen this with a lot of business owners, is they open up a second location assuming that they're now going to reach the same level of revenues, that expenses will all stay the same. Well, you're opening up yourself to more risk. Any business venture has an element of risk. So it's not to say don't, right? You want to have growth, but you also want to weigh your pros and cons, because in this particular situation, she would have been required to use all of that excess cash to get that second location. So I had to really challenge her in that moment, not bringing her down, and just say, hey, look, have you weighed, your plan A, plan B, plan C? And are you okay if things don't go the way that they go? Here's the thing, right? You can plan all you want. And maybe she even had 2-3 times the excess cash, and it can go good, it can go bad. We don't know. We only know what we know, and it's not even always going to be the case because no one sees into the future. And so I challenge my clients to just ensure that whenever they're making a really big decision, it's one that they're going to be at peace with. If you're willing to take on that risk, all right, let's do it. We're going for that second location. You've done your homework, and you are confident that no matter what, you're not going to beat yourself up at the end of the day. And yeah, just taking it like that.
And what I love about that is it's focusing on how to make those good decisions, right? Less even about what the decision is, and like, does it feel good? Does it feel authentic? And when you talked about authenticity, you feel at peace with it, right? So does that decision feel authentic for me? Is there anything else, like when deciding decisions and like figuring out what to decide? Is there anything that you can talk on about when you know it's the right decision, or maybe when you know it's the wrong decision? I know for myself, it's either a F yes or heck yes, or it's either a heck no, yes, right? Yes. And my body actually leans into it or leans away from it. Is there anything for you that specifically that you're like, this is the right decision, or this is not the right decision?
I definitely get those moments where I'm like, Kate, yep, same thing. I've made a rule for myself though. When I make a big financial decision, I give myself a day. So I never sign a big contract on the spot, no matter how good the deal looks. It could actually be exactly what I had in mind as like my best case outcome. I'm taking a moment to sit with that for at least a day. And when you're negotiating a deal, or you're looking at a contract, it's a mutually beneficial contract, right? You're binding to terms and conditions. And so it's okay to take a day. That person will have respect for you because they know that you care enough that you want to sit and reflect and make sure it's that it's the right decision. And then you can come back and maybe sign the contract, or maybe you don't. Right?
Yeah. Let's get a little bit deeper into that, because I think a lot of people that I've chatted with, again, my clients and people in my network, they think that if they don't sign something or say yes to something right away, that people will go on to the next person, yes, right? So there's this fear of scarcity, right? There's a scarcity fear. Well, if I don't sign right today, then they're going to like take that contract and they're going to give it to somebody else. Yep. Do you have any advice on how we can help mitigate that feeling of I need to do it today, and allow ourselves to take that day, which is so wildly important?
It is. For me, it's going back to the saying, everything happens for a reason. What's meant to be will be. So if I take that 24 hours and that person leaves, I just accept it. That there's nothing I can change. I do not have control over that decision they've made, because they've made that decision for themselves for whatever the reason is. And that's it, truthfully. I don't sit and dwell on those things, because I know when I do my own due diligence, there's a reason for doing it. And, like one of the things I've learned in business is, and one of the most empowering things, is reading the fine print. Most business owners, or I won't say most, a lot of business owners don't read the fine print. And I learned this from my banking days. I learned this through purchasing property. I sat on my condo board as vice president for several years, and we had to read the fine print to be able to save the corporation money and uncover different ways to grow our revenue. And reading the fine print takes time, and it's okay to take that time. So if you lose out on an opportunity, is it really even a loss? Because you've taken the time to do your own due diligence. So now that knowledge you've learned, you can apply it to the next opportunity that comes to you. Or now that you've taken the time to read and learn, you can better position yourself to be more strategic and intentional about that next opportunity.
Yeah. There's an old proverb that I love, and I'm going to absolutely butcher it, but I'm going to go for it. Where a man's son falls down the stairs and breaks his leg, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for you. And the man says, maybe good, maybe bad, right? And then all of a sudden, let's say it was Vietnam and they got conscripted, right? And they got sent to war. Well, look, like he had a broken leg. He didn't have to go to war. And they go, oh, aren't you so lucky your son didn't have to go to war? Maybe good, maybe bad. And as that continues, we never know what the actual outcome is. And we have to start trusting that we know internally, like you said earlier today, that we already know what we need. We already know what we want. And if we start actually listening to that and stop being afraid of people not giving us what we want, stop being afraid of fitting into a box. If we can really authentically sit with ourselves and sit in that peace, that's when we can make those decisions that feel good for us. And that's when we can create the lives that we want.
You're so absolutely right. And as you were saying that, it reminded me of another thing that happened to me in life that has gotten me to shift my mindset around just this thinking of, okay, I need to fit in a box. When I think of my weight loss journey, so my weight has fluctuated like plus or minus 50 pounds. And when I was bigger or fat in school, they used to call me Shrek and all of these things. I was so obsessed with trying to get everyone to see me for not being fat, whatever that means. But at the time, that was all I was focused on. So guess what? I wasn't eating. I was doing all these things that actually aren't healthy for you. And then I lost the weight. And then guess what? There were people who were like, oh, you're too small. Why? You don't have as many curves. And it was like, but I thought this would have been my moment, my defining moment. Everyone's going to accept me, and that was not the case. And I learned that it doesn't matter where you are in your life. It doesn't matter what you do. Someone's going to hate this outfit. Guess what? I love this outfit. But someone's going to see red and be like, you should have worn pink. Or maybe you should have worn black. Doesn't matter what you do. Someone is not going to like it. And you have to accept that fact, because that is just a fact of life. And once you understand that that is a fact of life, and you accept that no matter what you do, someone's not going to like it, and understand that there are people who will like it and respect whatever it is that you're doing, you realize it just doesn't make any sense to fit in a box. It really doesn't.
Woo. Let's talk about those external factors, right? And so many people I talk with tell me that, when this happens, then I'll be happy. Yes. Well, when I'm 50 pounds lighter, then I'll be loved. Well, when I get this job, then I'll be successful. And we look to external factors to finalize our own confidence and to finalize our own authenticity and to figure out, okay, now I've made it based on these external things. Mm-hmm. But all of those things can be stripped away in a moment. Your job can be gone, right? We might get a physical ailment or a disease, or we gain weight, or maybe we lose weight, and whatever that looks like, it can be in a second. So real confidence, from my perspective, comes from, even when those moments are really tough, yes, being able to recognize that they're tough, right? Sit with them and be okay with being tough, but understanding that you have everything you need internally to rebuild that confidence. Things change externally, things will change internally. When we expect that when something changes, then our mind and our bodies and our confidence will change. Mm-hmm. Is there any truth in that, or do you think it's all internal?
It's internal, I'd say. I mean, if you're always waiting on that external, which you have no control of, that time may never come, right? Yeah. So you really have to, in my mind, you don't have a choice but to really focus on the internal. And by default, when you do that, you'll radiate outwards. And yes, people will pick up on that, but you just can't wait, because that opportunity isn't guaranteed. If you're waiting on the external, it's not guaranteed.
Yeah. And the reason why I named this podcast Confidence Redefined is I really wanted to redefine what confidence is, because when a lot of us, we think of confidence, we think of the politicians in power, mm-hmm, right? We think of some old white dudes who are making decisions because they have the confidence, mm-hmm, of this. Now, how do you think the different biases and the different options and the different identities that you share affect your confidence, being a Black woman in Calgary?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've had to overcome a lot. For one, the aggressive, angry Black woman is definitely something that is very real, and it goes all the way back even into my childhood. I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood when I first moved to Canada, so I moved here when I was 10, and I was often called the Black girl by parents of other students. They would address everyone by their first name, but I was the Black girl. And they'd even do she's the Black girl. Like, it was, now that I'm looking back on it and reflecting on it, it was just so condescending and absurd and demeaning, because there's this narrative of a Black woman being confident and a Black woman having boundaries, and even kids, like, because I speak, because I'm laughing, I'm an aggressive person, it's something I've had to face, and I accepted that for a long time as a child, that I had to be quiet and I had to be in a shell, because otherwise I'm going to be that Black kid. There'd be a group of kids laughing and I'm laughing, and there was an issue with that. And you see where other kids pick up on those behaviors. Well, those behaviors are learned from somewhere. In the workplace, I would say something, and people would say, "Who? don't want to scare Shenneile. Sheneile's going to be scary because I have an opinion, and someone would repeat verbatim what I have to say. And there was no issue. They were never called aggressive or angry. But I've learned to just accept that some people think Black women are aggressive and angry, and that's their business, not mine.
You are a fantastically confident person. And I'm interested to know, was there any other points of contention of like your identities affecting your confidence? Or was there any times that those identities really supported your confidence?
Yeah, well, I'm surrounded by a lot of very inspiring Black women, my mom, my aunt, friends, and we all have a story of having to overcome racism. Like we all have a story of being in the grocery store and being followed around and being accused of stealing when literally you're existing in society. You're walking, you're picking things up off a shelf. You're not doing anything that one should think, you're about to commit a crime. And we all have that story. But on the flip side of that, I've seen them overcome those things. Yeah, we live in a society and there's racist people, and we've all just found a way to keep pushing through. For me, there's inspiration in that. Knowing that, it's going to be okay, that I can exist in a society that may not necessarily always want me to exist as confident me, but I can, because I've seen other people do it. So that is, I'd say, the positive is just knowing that it's fine. There are ways to overcome and shine brighter. But, thinking of some of the negatives, my hair being like this, I only started wearing my natural hair maybe 3 years ago because I didn't have the confidence to do it. I was afraid to wear my natural hair because when I was growing up, people laughed at me because my hair texture. I used to wear wigs in elementary and junior high because I wanted to cover myself up because people would laugh. And I've learned to embrace that difference. And I embrace that for me, but I embrace that in others as well. And we need to be accepting that not everyone's the same, right? It's okay. It's okay. There's a saying that I really like. There's only one you, and that's your power. So I'm a Black woman. I have intersectionalities, right? But there's only one Shenneile Henry. There's only one Alyssa. And that's what makes each and every one of us so unique and beautiful. And when I think about that gives me confidence to know that it's my path to forge, because there really is only one me. Yeah.
That might be the most beautiful thing you said today. I need a minute. That's beautiful. Thank you. And when you say there's only one you, right? And that is your superpower. What I've heard is all of these themes that kind of lead up to that, right? Being okay when something doesn't work out for you, because you never know what's going to come next for you, right? Be okay being introverted because you have your own powers. In introversion, you don't have to be super confident you don't have to be super extroverted in order to be confident. And then understanding that you are your superpower. Mm-hmm. So now I have a question for you. What is the most important thing?
In terms of...
You tell me.
Oh my gosh, why such an open question? Okay, do you know what? Do you know what it is? So my mom has a lot of... she has an autoimmune disease. And I grew up with my mom being in and out of the hospital. You wouldn't believe me if I said she was in the hospital right now as we speak. And her mindset, like... I don't know if I'll ever fully understand where she finds her strength, but one of the things she's just always instilled in me is, look, you don't know. Like, I don't know if I walk out here, I'm hit by a bus and I'm laying on a hospital bed tomorrow. If and when, because look, that day is gonna come. We're not on earth forever. if I'm laying on that hospital bed, am I going to be happy with the life I lived? Am I going to be happy with who who I was and the things that I did and the decisions I made? Or am I going to have regret? Am I going to regret not booking that flight? Am I going to regret not picking up the phone to call that person? Am I going to regret not investing in myself because I spent too much time investing in others, and guess what? Now I'm here in a hospital bed. Where did that get me? So I'm always thinking about that in the decisions I make. Like, am I going to be proud of who I am when that day comes? And I don't know when that day is going to come. So I have to do those things now. I can't wait. I'm not going to wait till I'm 60 because I'm not guaranteed to make it to 60. And I think about that.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Never be afraid to ask questions. Yeah, never be afraid to ask questions.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Shenneile, for coming today. You are such a wild pleasure. You are such a light in this world. I think that everyone deserves a little bit more Shen in their life. So if people want to work with you directly and want to increase their confidence in business, they need some help going in and asking for the finances that they deserve, or just need a little bit of pick-me-up in business to really help them understand what the next best decision is, they can call you, Gold Digger Shen. Your website is golddiggershen.com.
Yes.
Beautiful. And
yeah, and feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm active in many different communities, and I'm open to a conversation with anybody.
Beautiful. I'm sure we will be seeing so much of you. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.